Hello there and welcome to another live chapter reading for Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Today I shall be reading from Sessrúmnir, Antipodes, Book 5 by T.S. Simons. Chapter 1. The long low whistle from behind me signalled approval. "Where are you off to, all tarted up?" Putting the hairbrush down, I smoothed the flyaway strands near my face and checked the results. "Dinner." "With?" I asked coyly. "Stefan, if you must know." "Well, haven't you come a long way? You said you couldn't stand him, called him an arrogant twat. Now he's getting all of this." A sweep of her hand illustrated this. My better clothes, to be sure. It wasn't like I had lots of opportunities to wear them, but it was enjoyable to dress up occasionally, even if it was just my newer jeans and a heather grey cashmere sweater that set off my green eyes. Ignoring Ellie's taunts as I pulled on my cleanest boots and zipped up the sides, I had to admit she was right. Initially, Stefan had got on my nerves, been blatantly rude and arrogant, and he and I had more than one raging argument. I had come far too close on multiple occasions to throwing something solid at his head and storming out, telling him where to shove his traineeship. As a senior orthopaedic surgeon on Clava, they had assigned me to him, and he took every opportunity to let me know his seniority and that he considered me underqualified. Despite my veterinary training and years of experience, shifting to orthopaedic medicine had been a steep learning curve, but one I enjoyed immensely. After I had overcome the weeks of sleeplessness and brain overload, Lewis had finally recognised that the community needed a specialist, broken bones being a common occurrence, and Clava had offered a 6-month traineeship. The medical team had chosen me despite my lack of medical training on humans. As head of the medical team, Sorsha had insisted I take the opportunity to train for 6 months on Clava after 6 years of working in the role of a de facto capacity on Lewis, especially now that the original population had more than tripled. The intention was that I would remain a full-time vet and only assist in a medical capacity when needed, and specifically on orthopaedic cases. Despite this agreement, I found myself increasingly working on humans for more routine surgeries and felt guilty for Isla shouldering the veterinary load. Illy was still watching as I checked my reflection one last time and turned. "You know he was one of the men they trotted out for me as a potential partner on Clava." I snorted. "He told me. You weren't interested." "Why? Do you want him now?" Illy neatly dodged the question. "What about Caim?" "What about him?" I was not engaging in this line of questioning, especially not with my best friend. "No chance then?" "Why? Do you want him now?" Illy raised her eyebrows at me derisively, but said nothing. "He is available, you know. You wanted him once before. You have been single for nearly 7 years. If you want to go there, I won't stop you." Illy raised her eyebrows at the insinuation. "I think we both know that will never happen." "Not my business if you do. Is Summer feeling better?" "She's okay." Illy's abrupt tone indicated she knew I was deflecting and didn't want to engage. "She's a lucky girl. Whatever it was she ingested, it was pretty potent. Well, she can chew iron and spit rust, as Luca used to say. He always said she would turn into a keg on legs when she hit 13. I suspect her size may have helped." I wish you could see them now, all of them. Illy smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Even after all these years, losing Luca was still foremost in her mind. How could it not be, with 4 children to raise, 2 of whom he'd never met? Shrugging on my jacket, I placed my hand on the doorknob, still thinking of Luca, the love he and Illy had shared, the love I thought Caim and I had shared. But 20 years is a long time. Maybe we've just grown apart, I rationalised. We were so young when we met. "Don't wait." My last words were cut off by the harsh bleeping of the radio going off in the kitchen. Knowing it was likely for me, I lingered in the doorway. Maybe this was a stroke of luck. Kissing me good night 2 nights ago, Stefan had invited me to stay over, his intentions not disguised. I had struggled to make excuses and get away, still feeling awkward around him, while he was self-assured and confident, now that he treated me like an equal. He was also knowledgeable and easy to talk to. Why am I so scared of this? I berated myself. I never had issues with shagging a stranger before, and it isn't like Stefan is even a stranger. Illy returned, radio in hand. "No dinner for you, Glamour Puff. Mike has been thrown from a horse, and they need you at the med centre now." Peeling off my cashmere sweater and heading into my room to change, I called back over my shoulder. "Did they say what injuries?" Illy whistled after me. Got the sexy stuff on, planning to get lucky, were we? Ignoring her, I quickly changed into work clothes and looked at her expectantly. Illy scanned my old t-shirt and jeans before responding. Complicated fractures of the clavicle, arm and several ribs. Smiling, I nodded. Illy grinned. I know you enjoy your job, but you probably shouldn't smile at someone else's misfortune. Quickly rearranging my face to something more appropriate, I saw Illy's nod of approval. I'll make your excuses for you. Thanks, Ills. Appreciate it. Don't wait up for me. Try not to wake the kids when you get home. Sorry, I didn't mean it. I fell over one of the cats. I know. Go. Driving one of the uncomfortably tiny two-seater electric cars over to Garinahin, I pondered moving permanently into the main village. Caitlin, aged 6, was the only one of my children who couldn't drive one of the many cars gifted to us by Clava. Allegedly giving us thanks for reactivating the portal, part of me firmly believed it was an apology for what they did to me. Shaking my head to dispel the awful memories, I thought again about the children. Aside from Kate, the rest could visit me. It wasn't like they woke from nightmares and needed me anymore. Kate, my biological daughter and one of the special ones who could live outside the domes, was a child I hadn't given birth to. Despite this, Kate was exactly like her sister Catherine, strong-willed, highly intelligent, independent and carefree, so much so that I had often wondered who her father was. No one needed me, I thought with an unexpected twinge of pain. I loved living with Illy, but wondered if I was cramping her style. If things continued to get serious with Stefan, well, perhaps it was best I was away from my former life. I was still angry at Caim, but I didn't need to rub his face in my fledgling relationship, especially when Illy's and Cam's houses were joined. As I entered the modern but small clinic, Sorsha greeted me with a brisk nod. At least she and I were on cordial terms after our huge blow-up several weeks ago. She gave me a detailed handover, making it clear that she was handing Mike over to me to take the lead on his surgery. Perhaps she was heading home. I glanced out the window as stars twinkled through the dome. Before she left, I quizzed her about the location and severity of the breaks and asked to see the scans. As I reviewed the images, making mental notes about the repairs required to tackle the complicated fractures and the order in which to address them, I wondered if Sorsha and I would ever be close again. Even though we had both apologised for our part in the argument, she had later admitted that I was right. She was still cool towards me. Then again, her loyalties would always be with the brother. It hadn't been until Stefan had arrived and he had backed my methods that she had thawed, but by that point, the damage was done. As I prepped for surgery, Sorsha scrubbed in beside me. I scrubbed silently, running the procedure through my head. As I dried my hands and she held out the towel for me, her eyes meeting mine. Am I ready? Several hours later, as I slipped into my cool bed, I longed for the warmth and for the body to share it with. After all these years, I was surprised to realise one of the things I missed most was a simple act of cuddling with someone. Decompressing, chatting about my day, I should reschedule that dinner with Stefan in the morning. It was time to move on. Cam and I could continue to co-parent. The children all knew they were loved. They flitted between both homes daily, seemingly unaffected. The children here were raised by the village anyway. Over the 20 years since these communities had been established, many couples had paired up and separated. Many had unusual living situations where the old partner and the new all lived together. Since we had reactivated the portal and rejoined the Nexus nearly 7 years ago, migration to and from each community had increased. Learning people had friends or relatives in other communities, or even isolated communities, many people had arrived or moved away, often unexpectedly. Old partners sought to reconcile, causing a bit of angst in a new place. Even I had considered moving somewhere else, away from the memories. Clattering in the kitchen woke me, and I staggered in without even checking my face in the mirror. Illy grinned at my dishevelled state as I pushed the mass of hair out of my eyes. Morning, you came in late. Did I wake you? I tried to be quiet. It is fine, really. I don't sleep well knowing that you are travelling in the dark. Sorry, Mum, I smirked at her. Despite her diminutive stature and being only a few years older than me, Illy managed in all her realm with a quiet ferocity. The twins were 12 and still attending the village school, along with my younger children, Samantha, Thorsten and Kate. Catherine was taking a week off and was due to start her apprenticeship, as all the children did when they reached the age of 15. With no formal exams and no colleges, they were all piloted out to professionals around Lewis, aligned to their strengths and interests and passing whatever tests the professionals set. Catherine, highly intelligent with a flair for maths and science, desperately wanted to become a doctor. She would be the first, the only candidate who had met Sorcer's exacting standards and had passed every test Sorcer had set. As the medical centre director, Sorcer was the boss and she made sure everyone knew it. I suspected that she had been even harder on Kat when it came to assessments, not wanting to be seen as to be playing favourite to her niece. But Kat passed with flying colours, and several of the other doctors had already told me how much they were looking forward to welcoming her to the team. Louis was already apprenticed to Freyja and had proven a valuable addition to the agricultural team. Sorcer's eldest Sam had been apprenticed to Bridget for the past 2 years and would soon take over the teaching of the younger children himself, splitting the workload between them. A natural teacher, he was engaging, positive but firm. Aroa, Jacinda's eldest, had been apprenticed to her mother as a natural healer for years. Builders, engineers, electricians all had assistants now, learning the role they would one day take responsibility for. Illy's youngest two, Alistair and Seraphine, were the same age as Kate and couldn't be more different. Although Seraphine was Luca's biological child, she was also mine, and one of only 2 special children where I had been told the father's identity. Sarah had been genetically engineered along with 26 others to be resistant to the Vienna virus and was immune to the protozoa's effects. While Luca and I had been best of friends, our genes were not compatible in producing compliant children. Sarah was sharp, witty, and had a wicked sense of humour. Many nights Illy and I tried hard not to laugh over the things she had said and done during the day. Remember when we thought Summer and Ali were challenging? She had groaned one day after learning that Seraphine had used tree sap to stick the pages closed on the school books. Sarah's payback after Bridget had forced her to read aloud for talking during class. She's so naughty, but I can't help but laugh at how creative she is. Between her and Caitlin, I'm surprised poor Bridget hasn't had a breakdown by now. Do you remember the time they painted Bridget's chair with brown paint? I do, Illy groaned. I spent hours trying to get it out of Bridget's clothing. Why can't she be like Alistair? Alistair was calm and compliant, a dream child, so very different from his sisters and a second child that Luca had never met. But he looked like his father, solid in stature, he was a big unit, but so quiet I often forgot he was there. You know, Luca would have adored her, egged her on. I know, it's bad enough that Ali and Summer encourage her. Imagine him too. Between Sarah and Kate, I'm not sure Lewis is ready for them to reach teenage years. Can you imagine those two ranging with hormones? No boy will be safe. Darling, we won't be safe. Every parent here will hate us. I hope you enjoyed that chapter reading and that you'll go check out the book. Thanks very much for watching. Bye bye.